alla metodologia medica, alla psicologia, alla psicoterapia, a una pagina ampia del freudismo, per non parlare dello junghismo, è assolutamente per noi acquisita. Ma io vorrei spingere oltre l'obiezione e cioè formulare l'obiezione in maniera ancora più radicale. Allora, tutto incomincia forse non nel XIX secolo, ma incomincia ad Atene. Incomincia ad Atene in questi termini: Platone e poi Aristotele. Aristotele, il maestro di Alessandro, il fondatore dell'impero. Non è casuale che fosse discepolo di Aristotele. Allora, fino a Platone, e cioè se noi andiamo a Lentini, a Agrigento, a Siracusa, a Crotone, a Sibari ancora prima, e noi non abbiamo ancora questi concetti che sono di Platone e che poi vengono canonizzati, formalizzati e sacralizzati da Aristotele, tanto da formare quindi con Platone già questa accademia, questa scuola, che diventa una comunità filosofico-religiosa che impone i suoi postulati alla Repubblica occidentale. Allora, fino a quel momento la questione è come vivere, la questione che si pone nella Magna Grecia è come vivere. Questa risposta, come vivere, è quindi quali sono le proprietà del viaggio. Quali sono le proprietà del viaggio? Allora è chiaro che la proprietà qui è proprietà intellettuale, non può essere significata e rappresentata da qualcosa, da una sostanza, da una droga, assolutamente, non può essere rappresentata in nessun modo. Ma che cosa risponde invece Platone? Platone dice il poeta, quindi il poeta, il musicista, l'artista, ma sono posseduti, invasati, c'è un fantasma di possessione. Non sono loro gli autori della poesia, è la loro mano, loro parlano, ma la loro bocca è soltanto lo strumento di un Dio. La loro mano è la mano di un Dio che li ha invasati e li possiede, non altrimenti avviene con Maometto. Ma altro dice, che cosa oppone invece? Oppone invece Platone, oppone già l'uomo perfetto, il filosofo perfetto, oppone già il filosofo perfetto, l'uomo perfetto, la salute perfetta, la pone già, perché dice il fantasma di padronanza. Ciò che distingue me, dice, dalla poeta è il fantasma di padronanza. Ecco, questo non è la risposta a come vivere. La risposta a come vivere è la proprietà, qual è la proprietà intellettuale del viaggio. Noi siamo in viaggio, noi viaggiamo, noi facciamo, noi viaggiamo. Qual è nell'infinito attuale la proprietà del viaggio? In che modo il nostro viaggio va verso qualcosa, verso la qualità. Ma cosa dice dunque Platone? Ci sono 3 principi e Aristotele li santifica. 3 principi in base ai quali noi possiamo essere padroni del nostro corpo, attenzione, della Repubblica e delle cose. Questi 3 principi sono il principio di non contraddizione, il principio di identità, il principio del terzo escluso. Noi diciamo che questo dunque è il fantasma di padronanza. E il fantasma in base ai quali sono fondati gli imperi. Allora, la libertà che viene dichiarata da Platone è la libertà di diventare padroni in questo senso. Ma dice Machiavelli, Niccolò Machiavelli, che ribalta completamente questa cosa, rivoluziona interamente e inventa un'altra politica rispetto a quella di Aristotele. Che cosa dice Machiavelli? il principe che fa ciò che egli vuole, il principe, quindi non il principe di Platone, il principe. Che chi è il principe che fa ciò che vuole? È il principe di Platone, è il filosofo di Platone. Il principe che fa ciò che vuole è pazzo, non malato mentale. Pazzo a Firenze è come dire che assolutamente è rovinoso per la Repubblica. È rovinoso, reca la rovina della Repubblica. Allora, noi abbiamo avuto un discorso occidentale, che è il discorso della morte, dove l'uomo è definito dalla morte, dove la libertà viene indicata come la libertà di fare quello che si vuole, e cioè la libertà di morire. Allora, la libertà come morte, questo è il discorso occidentale. La libertà è la morte. Allora c'è un'altra libertà che viene assolutamente ignorata dal discorso occidentale, che viene assolutamente sbarrata da Platone, ed è la libertà, diciamo, della parola, la libertà della vita. Accanto a questa c'è l'arbitrarietà assoluta, che non è religiosa per niente, è ignorata da qualsiasi religione della morte. L'arbitrarietà assoluta. La libertà assoluta è la libertà, quindi, di vivere, è la libertà della vita, la libertà della parola. Non è la libertà di morire. La sola libertà che conosce il discorso occidentale è la libertà di morire. È chiaro che nessuno Stato, nessun psichiatra, nessun poliziotto può assolutamente impedire a una persona con la forza assolutamente rinchiuderla e sequestrarla perché ha la sua idea di suicidio, questo sì, ma assolutamente che la libertà sia quella di morire è la suprema padronanza, che il discorso occidentale, come discorso della morte, ha affidato appunto al filosofo, all'uomo perfetto, e quindi entriamo nel paradosso totale di questo discorso occidentale. Cioè io dico che la psichiatria, la genetica, Cartesio, Hegel e quanti altri, come già prima, non fanno, come Bin Laden, non fanno altro che portare avanti questo discorso, che è un discorso della morte. O noi diciamo che come l'artista, come il poeta, come il musicista, cioè che non sottostanno assolutamente a questi postulati di una comunità filosofico-religiosa greca, e la semiotica stessa di Sibiov ha provato che non è impossibile sottostare a questi principi, perché la lingua, la parola non sottostà a questi principi. Nessun scienziato potrebbe inventare nulla, trovare nulla, nessun artista, nessun poeta, se sottostasse a questi principi. E allora è in questo modo che c'è un'altra libertà, l'altra libertà, che è la libertà di vivere. L'obiezione radicale al discorso occidentale coinvolge la psichiatria, la mitologia medica, la medicina epistemica, l'intera gnosi. Ma noi riteniamo che la libertà gnostica sia una libertà letale e rovinosa per l'umanità. Allora questa è l'obiezione radicale che noi facciamo alla psichiatria, alla genetica, ma non solo, quindi al discorso occidentale.
Well, I am in complete agreement. To highlight this, let me point out some fine points, which again, we talk about language. I am obsessed with language, and what I'm now going to say has to do with nuances of language. There is no conflict between life and death when I talk about the right to suicide. The dying cannot be a right. In American English, it's become now common parlance to speak about the right to die. Are you aware of that? Now, the right to die means the right to be killed by a doctor. That's what it now means. But it's called the right to die. The perversion of language is so complete that unless we constantly pay attention to it, is as though someone was constantly trying to break into your home. Not sporadically, but constantly. You have to watch every door, every window, because the language is being constantly undermined against real freedom. The right to life means nothing unless you have a right to kill yourself. The right to kill yourself doesn't mean a celebration of death, it means a celebration of life. It is precisely that option of killing oneself that has kept many persons alive, as many persons attest to this. Wittgenstein, many other people talk about how all their lives they thought about killing themselves. And the only thing that kept them alive was the knowledge that they could do it. So I am in complete agreement with that. Plato and the idea of what in English is called divine possession, that somehow the artist, the creator, the scientist is not himself, that he's being possessed, is an idea that's been carried forward until now. It actually has a nice English word equivalent. It's called inspiration, to be inspired. Actually, from Latin, inspirare, I mean, to be inspired. By what? Well, now we talk about inspiration, by a muse, by some higher power. Well, this is a phenomenon. It can be interpreted in religious terms. It can be interpreted in non-religious, in secular terms. But the underlying idea of free will is being constantly undermined. And in this connection, I want to say something else, and I am treading on dangerous soil, and I don't want to be misunderstood. We heard a great deal, just a few minutes ago, about how we all want peace and how important peace is. Well, that's self-evident. I mean, we talk about the dead resting in peace. They should only in death is there peace. Now, peace is, and the Bible talks about the peacekeeper being blessed. But if peace is so wonderful, how come we have war all the time? We don't live in an ideal world. We don't live in a platonic world. Plato was a great man, but he is not my personal philosophical or moral ideal. As you know, Karl Popper became famous by writing a whole tirade against Plato called The Open Society and Its Enemies. A very good book. Not a perfect book, but an important book. Now, what am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that the human spirit, as Plato said, and has been emphasized, as you emphasized, wants to understand, wants to master himself, knowledge. Now, the demarcation, the line between mastery and domination of the other is very, very thin. That's why scientists traditionally, many scientists have been sympathetic with totalitarian regimes. The idea that science can only flourish in free democratic societies is simply not true. Many of the greatest scientific advances of the last 200 years have been made in wartime. The jet engine, antibiotics were invented in Nazi Germany. Penicillin was invented during wartime. One could go on and on and on. So the problem is that to master nature easily flows over into mastering the other person. Now, there is really only one way to master the other person, and that's by force. Understanding the other person is inimical to mastering. The more you understand somebody, the less you can master him. This is a problem essentially in fanatical religions, which preclude understanding the other because you already have your own understanding, and if the other person doesn't share it, then he has to be dominated. Now this is a problem of mankind to which I obviously don't have a solution except to point it out. That we have to fight against the idea of dominating others. We should control ourselves and let it go at that. And this is really a fundamental aspect of medicine and psychiatry. People cannot heal other people except in a mechanical sense. Obviously, if you have a broken bone, you can be put to sleep and the surgeon can fix it. But as a human being, with your own soul, with your own self, you can only be healed by yourself. Now somebody else can help you, but that helper has to be like a catalyst in chemistry. Cannot be an interactive agent in the equation. He must bring you to yourself in the religious vocabulary.
So che ci sono 1000 domande, 1000 question, ma dobbiamo attenerci al nostro programma. Con il professor Thomas Szasz proseguiremo a Roma martedì con question e domande e risposte e giovedì pure, quindi acquisiremo poi questi stessi dibattiti agli atti del congresso. E alle 2 esatte riprendiamo i lavori, quindi anche se faremo come nella regola del teatro, se ci sono due partecipanti al congresso più un relatore, noi incominciamo esattamente, quindi occorre che ci siano 2 però. A teatro c'è questa regola, quindi alle 2 esatte noi incominciamo, quindi adesso un'ora per il pranzo, non più di un'ora. Grazie. Evidentemente non ero stato informato della sua partenza oggi pomeriggio, altrimenti l'avrei chiamato prima. Sì. Allora, prendiamo apparecchio. Questo. Prego. Ah. Mi raccomando, Martti, breve. Ok, allora passiamo la parola a Martti Siirala che viene qui da noi da circa 30 anni e quindi in Finlandia. Era stato segnalato per un congresso che era stato fatto all'inizio degli anni 70 a Zurigo e quindi era venuto lui proprio con Dostoevskij, con Jean-Uri, con molti esponenti della diciamo psichiatria e psicanalisi mondiale. Allora quindi siamo molto contenti che ancora oggi sia qui con noi. Ha fatto già diversi interventi durante questi 3 giorni nel dibattito. Adesso lo invitiamo alla brevità perché purtroppo, come ripeto, poi il Carper non è potuto intervenire, aveva l'aereo, quindi non ha fatto la sua esposizione. Comunque ci ha lasciato il testo che uscirà negli atti. Invece Stefania Persico si avvicina più avanti, qui in prima fila. Ecco. E salutiamo anche il professor Mengoli, anche lui sarà interpellato e quindi chiederemo qualcosa. Allora passiamo subito la parola, dato che il viaggio è ancora lungo, passiamo la parola a Martti Siirala, ancora una volta invitandolo alla brevità, data data la fase in cui ci troviamo del congresso. Prego. Vicino al microfono, vicino al microfono. Ecco, niente più questo, adesso basta questo. Posso parlare? Ecco. Sì. Ok.
Practical question. Was it 5 minutes that I have?
Ok.
5 minutes.
Perfetto, perfetto. Perfetto.
Are you serious? Only 5 minutes?
No, 10.
Yes.
Noi la invitiamo alla brevità. Non diamo noi i minuti, se li dia lei. Ah, no. Prego. Prego, parlate.
I did not understand the answer. How many minutes? Pardon?
Breve.
Well, yes. I think this too have the opportunity to be in this place that in a very, very really special way gives space to something real and important, really important, not only seemingly. And that then this kind of everyday miracle becomes possible, that most unpopular, because of really and truly important subjects, get place, that can continue, and from one decade to another. And then to have the possibility to speak in a way that is grounded on one's very own experience, and which is not one of the power institutions. And in my own case, that had also this consequence, that when in the Finnish TV there is a program for persona non grata, and that program has been gone on so a few years. Last September I was asked by the TV2 whether I would agree and also come an interview during the lasting half an hour. Yes, I did, and they did it in a very sympathetic way. But it really is my experience in all my, whatever I have thought and produced and so forth, it has met this kind of never being the favorite scientific or philosophical or anything, but then, for instance, and perhaps above all, my book in German, Die Schizophrenie des Einzelnen und der Allgemeinheit, that came out 61, schizophrenia of the individual and of us all. That, when it appeared, got a huge negative criticism in all directions. And then 40 years later, a different German publisher asked me, are we allowed to republish it? And naturally, the welcome. But, well, the title of my presentation is Cogito, as the formulation for an illusory emancipation of man of our era. That means what happened in Rome when these scientists who had started to experimental and objectifying science like Galileo, Copernicus, Kepler, and so forth, when they had defied the already knowing of everything essential by the Roman Church institution, and what then followed, and to put then my thesis concerning this, we'll say the central thesis, many dimensions of it are there, that actually what happened when they defied and then got also Galilei sentence and so forth, but was not put in prison all the same. Then what happened was that the spirit that was in that already knowing, it became transferred to science. That, to put it very radically, it became a kind of all-knowing religion, which had the right and power and justification to say what is something and what is not, and above all, that had practiced something that it took for granted and right, and would shut every other approaches out. And that was something that for me then has come the concept primary objectivation, because objectivation and also primary thematization, that the theme, the approach is from the very beginning already defined and determined, and that is that what encounters us is given a certain name and objectified. And now I just heard that something that would have been very essential for my presentation, namely presenting diapositives, is not possible. And one real kernel in my presentation would have been to present pictures of artists, painters and drawers and so forth, who have made the diagnosis of our era and made it really like that. And the earliest one of them is Peter Bruegel the Elder, from 1525 to 1569, but because he belongs to them who are not have achieved, have not the ear, have not been heard, not been seen, not been not by the art history even, then there is not even exact knowledge of his birth year. It is 1525 or 30. Well, and who was in something, has presented something utterly central about man. And and it is somehow very discouraging, but not depressing, because one is not allowed to get depressed because of what is in this world, that we are not only sick, but also wrong, and so forth, and also then blind, because just Bruegel, although his paintings and by the names of them are so clear that it really needs a deep, deep, deep resistance in order not to forget, not to understand the message. Painting by names, kings adoring the Jesus child. And it must take at least half an hour at the question, how is the name of this painting this? How on earth? Because it is a Netherlandish village in snowstorm. Kings adoring the Jesus child. Where are the kings? Where is Jesus child? And how on earth it is a place in the present Belgium. But that is so. Well, then also in all of his paintings, also the bearing of the cross, Jesus of Nazareth, and so forth. It has also one has for a long time. Where on earth is this man? Somewhere there, and that it is in periphery, or also what's that? Because the basic change in Saulus. Saulus on his way to Damascus is the name of the painting. And one we know from the biblical history and so he met, so to speak, light from heaven, and the question, why do persecute me? As if it would be Jesus who talks to him. And even in that painting, a great military process going on, people with arms and so forth are going through somewhere. But where on earth is this Saulus? What is that? Oh yes, there, quite in the background, a man has fallen from his horse. There it is. But the message is clear. It is if something basic happens with man, and he awakens to something very real and significant, then it is not something that one would just so immediately identify. That's there. Because it is something, because the life itself is a secret. And everything that has real significance is not just, there it is. And also then bearing the cross. Oh yes, there is obviously someone bearing a cross, but the main emphasis of the painting lies where a woman is beating his man, her man, because he has become very, very angry. So that is the center. And then people riding their horses and so forth, but oh yes, that could be Christ, and so forth. And that goes through in whole of his production. And in this radical way, different from the whole Renaissance painting. But here we have the second Renaissance. So that is, I seriously meant that here is possible to perceive something and not treat it that way, and, as is popular, as is the going and in the power institutions. I have even the thesis that just came to my mind some 40 years ago, that delusional possession of reality, the normal madness in all power institutions. And that then also is the very character of, have I already spoken too much? No. Not yet. Oh, fine. And, but therefore, the motto of my written paper, it is only 40 pages, then is I am embarrassed, thus I am Winnie the Pooh. You perhaps know that book, children's book, that came out 1926. But that is because those who are children or like children, that is true what is said in that novel by name Bible. In the New Testament, that man who understood himself as just very simply, I am a son of man. That means that I'm a son of God. That was the man from Nazareth. And is how man can be head of himself in art. Bruegel understood this, that and that the birth of each human child is a holy one, like the one of whom, as a kind of the first, then took it seriously that being a son of man, I am also a son of God. But the fate of that man had naturally to do with this, because that was radically against this omnipotence and so forth of I am God. What is really, and one can, whenever a moment comes, even find that one in oneself. Especially, I am ashamed of my own behavior when driving a car, when all the other people driving cars, they only represent for me some kind of objects, and preventing me someone with a mobile telephone there, and then the green lights pass when and how I feel, and I then aloud, knowing that no one hears that, I say, oh, you are so after your mother, or something like that. And when a bicyclist also behaves in a way that prevents me from running very well, then I find that in myself. And with my age, I have more and more, to my great surprise I have, it has become possible for me to read this. But these two other artists that I would have wanted to show you by the diapositives are René Magritte, the Belgian painter from 1980 something to 1890 something and 1960 or something. He, in whole his production, he gives names to his paintings, and his fate is the very same. The art history has not seen it is so clear whatever it can be, and he displays the destructive objectification that is in power, and in a fantastic way. Already too much. Martti Siirala, you my book. You know that book. But I don't. Perhaps just this kind of language. One question just when I have written, but even then something that I have here experienced. I had been said that what is printed about this, and whether when it has to be ready for that text in order to get
Allora, ringraziamo Martti Siirala e invitiamo adesso Uwe Peters a parlare. Le temps que vous souhaitez, à condition qu'il soit... Vous avez tenu compte de quelque chose.
Je vais changer alors mon plan.
Mais le texte sera publié en entier.
J'ai un manuscrit que je peux vous donner. No, I want to speak English, excuse me.
Vous parlez en français ou en anglais?
No, I speak in English now.
In English.
I'm very proud to speak, to follow as a speaker now Martti Siirala, because his book on schizophrenia was one of my very early psychiatric impressions and has influenced me in my psychiatric thinking and developing very much. I think it was translated into German by Kiske, is that right? By Kiske it has been translated. Yeah. Maybe 30 years ago that I did read this book. So when I was listening to the discussion this morning, in a way I was completely of the same opinion as Thomas Szasz was, but on the other hand I had to think, but I am a psychiatrist, and I work as a psychiatrist. I even held important positions as a psychiatrist, and I still do so. So the reason is the the psychiatry which he attacks is, in reality, is not my psychiatry. It is the same psychiatry he's talking of, which I attack and which I am attacked of. They attack me, of course, also, as they did attack him. We had a little talk now in the break about that. I wanted to talk about, and it is really, for me, important that I have still the occasion to say at least the main things I wanted to explain. That is, we have from very early on, another psychiatry. This psychiatry began in Germany about 1740, even earlier. And the first real textbook of psychotherapy was published in German in 1751. It's a textbook of psychotherapy in our nowadays sense, and they call it not psychotherapy, but psychische Therapie, that is psychic therapy, the same word. And in this book already has been written that the question was, how can you learn to be a good psychotherapist? The answer is easy. You have to study philosophy. And a medical doctor who does not study philosophy and is not a psychotherapist is but a living pharmacy. So the tendency is absolutely the same. And at this time there is a rich literature developing in either psychotherapy and anthropology. Of course it is an anthropology because it designs a new view of man. And they say for man, what makes a man being different of an animal? It is culture, it is religion, and it is language. It is said expressively language, so that you see ciphermatics is also quite very old, at least 200 years, at the beginnings, of course. And so I wanted to talk about this part of anthropology of this development, because the literature exclusively is in either Latin or in German. And we have a problem with German language in the world, all over the world now. German is still the most frequently spoken language in the European Union. We have about 120, 130 million people in Europe who speak German as a native language. German is the official language, or one of the official languages of 7 countries in the European Union. Nevertheless, the German language has been marginalized, and this is not astonishing that we do not have a German translation here. It is a fact, and the reasons are quite clear. These are the sequels of the Second World War and of the cruelties of the Nazis. So I do not complain about it. It's just but a fact. It is certainly a fact. So this literature now is inaccessible for all those who do not speak Latin and German. So that will say that those who are outside the German language have no access to this literature. That was the reason why I tried at least to explain some parts of it. There are books, a number of books, very good books about anthropology, and in connection with it on psychotherapy. And the word psychiatry itself has been invented by these psychotherapists. The word was for the first time used in 1803, and it is being said in that literature at that time that we have the psychical doctors or the psychotherapeutic doctors, or make it short, psychiatrist. So this was one contraction of the words. And up to about the middle of the 19th century, we had clearly two sorts of psychiatry: the psychiatrists, psychotherapists, who had a rich literature, and who had the lead from 1750 until 1800. They were in the lead. That was the mainstream, and the word psychiatry was adopted by the madhouse doctors, the insanity doctors, about in the middle of the 19th century, only then. Just in the United States, it was later. Today's American, called American Association of Psychiatry, until about the 1920s, was called American Association of Insanity. And the American Journal of Psychiatry, the most influential journal of psychiatry in the world, was up to the 1920s, had the title American Journal of Insanity. So you see the difference lasted very long, but then starting in the middle of the 19th century, the word psychiatry was perverted. It was adopted by the insanity doctors, and they started to call themselves psychiatrists also. And now we have the impression that the biological psychiatrists are psychiatrists, and the other ones had to invent a new word for it, psychotherapy. They had to pick up for it. So what I feel, of course, is that all the school of Armando Verdiglione is part of psychiatry. He would feel offended when I say that, I think so, because he has another opinion of psychiatry as I have. But in my opinion, it clearly is, if we have, from the beginning on, we have the problem that lay therapists are in it. It started with it, because by that time, the poets, the writers, the philosophers studied partly medicine, and they contributed to the literature on anthropology and psychotherapy. And they started treating even because it was not restricted to the medical profession to do so. As long as people have to pay by themselves for the treatment, then the question is not so important. But if you have a social security system which has to pay for it, then there comes the difference, and the matter of power comes into it. All this movement ended about 1850. Oh no, I just want to go back to the beginning of about 1800. The very first psychiatric hospitals which were ever constructed and opened and built in the world for therapeutic reasons, not only for being prisons, but for therapeutic reasons, were psychotherapeutic hospitals. They were built in 1805 and 1806 in Bamberg and in Bayreuth, and 1821 in Schleswig. I am very proud that one of my grandfather was the creator of this hospital. And but in the Napoleonic Wars, which were so important for Germany, for Italy too, I know, it stopped. Napoleon only said, "Qu'on enlève ces fous," get out the mad people. And the money ran out, and in 1838, the first French hospital for psychiatry in modern sense has been built. 1838, not before, SQ Royal. The literature, Pinel, of course, is earlier, but the hospital is 1833. In the middle of the 19th century, this tradition almost completely stops, at least in concerning creative literature. There were still some doctors practicing that. There are still some papers about it, but creative publications, books were not there. And seemingly all of a sudden, 1900, Freud, the sun rose in the morning of modern psychiatry began, not by mere chance that Freud did write also in German. He did feel more being in the German tradition than in the Jewish tradition. He sometimes in his letters he writes, oh, we Germans think it's this and that. Of course, his idea of German is culture and tradition and so on. Freud did not know the old literature, and he never alludes to it. And even Ellenberger, in his wonderful book, the discovery of the unconscious is the English title of it. Wonderful book. Never talks about this literature. He did obviously not know it. So there we have the continuity to the modern times, and this was the point where I wanted to end. So this is not my manuscript, but a part.
Bene, quindi noi pubblicheremo sia il manoscritto sia quello che gentilmente ci ha detto a voce il professor Peters. Ringraziamo quindi e siamo molto felici di questa collaborazione con Colonia, no? Da Caulonia a Colonia. E comunque il tedesco per me non è tolto, perché per ragioni che poi gli spiegherò, forse le ho già spiegate, invece è una lingua essenziale. Però soprattutto bisogna recitato nel tedesco scritto, quindi nella lettura. Bene, allora sentiamo Potrč. Matjaz. Il dischetto? Sì?
I also talk in some kind of English. I prepared the paper. It's called the Art of Existence, and Micro, okay, sorry. So my paper is called Art of Existence, but first of course I can just talk a few minutes, and I will give some highlights. So I'm departing from the same question.
Sta venendo la traduzione?
I'm departing from the same question I started last time, I believe. This is from Pascal's difference between reasons of geometry and reasons of heart. And I argue that this may be applied to ontology in philosophy, but I will first tell you something else, because we don't have too much time. I have a sister, and actually I don't see her much, because she's traveling all the time, and she's kind of artist, and actually does sculptures, but actually doesn't do just sculptures. She's also an architect and travels all around the world and looks at the cities. What kind of interesting, if she has time, because she's never home She's now in China, then in New York. She had Guggenheim, and so on. But, well, she goes all around the world and looks for interesting cities. Now, in this book that I gave you, she says one of most interesting cities in the terms that it's not well defined. Large areas of the big city which are not well defined, and it is good to live in those, is Moscow. I've never been in Moscow, but you must know, because some people here are from Moscow. She says it may be even dangerous, but it is not well defined. And I would say this is a reason of heart. So the areas that are not well shaped in the cities. Now she gives another example of geometrical city, which really was a little bit surprising for me. I didn't know about this. The city, because you never wish to look at these things, and the city is called Theresienstadt or Terzinka. Well, this is the city which Führer, Hitler, gave to the Jews. Now, I heard about this. I never was there either. But what is striking is that the city is fully geometrically built. It is in geometrical shapes, all clear, and so on. And there is a movie made, so actually Jews were invited to be there, and as we know, all of those were killed afterwards. So this is, I said, this would be a case of reason of geometry, although not all reasons of geometry are like that. Now, she gives the third example of the city I've never been to, and this is Königsberg or Kaliningrad. She says that, well, this city was bombed. It was German city. It has one of the most beautiful examples, these bridges of Königsberg. And as far as I remember, as a philosopher, they told me that Kant's grave is still intact there. But many other things were just destroyed, and also these bridges were taken to Russia and so on. And it is actually, she says, she was there, quite ugly city, and she has a proposal, if I understood it well, to flood this city in order to make it more beautiful by adding natural disaster to human-made disaster. Well, this was just kind of a metaphor in order to introduce some things that my sister does. What about ontology? I will be very brief. We heard some things about Aristotelian and Platonic tradition, and as I thought about ontology, it occurred to me that everything there in tradition, or mostly, is defined by use of general patterns. And what are those general patterns? Those general patterns are categories. There is substance for Aristotle, for example. There is no cat, but there is substance cat, and there are properties. And there are some tractable procedures by which you, in geometrical way, determine what is cat, for example. It is whatever properties are attached to the substance. Now I was, and this is described here, but to tell you very quickly, what would be the opposition to this? The opposition to this would be to go and say just, well, I wonder that there is something such as cat here, or there is a bottle here, so I don't categorize it. This would be more going with reasons of heart in the area of ontology, I believe. Now some people would say, this sounds like Heidegger actually, and we have to respect this ontological difference, whatever is ontology, whatever is ontic. And I say, no, I'm not going with Heidegger here, because he misses one thing, and the thing which he misses is something quite fundamental, and it is what I would call beautiful pattern. And beautiful pattern actually has to do with art and music and things like that. And this, I think, is the way for us to approach ontology. Thank you.
Bene. Grazie. Allora, quindi bisogna tenere conto sia per la raccolta, per gli atti del congresso, sia dello scritto, sia di quello che ciascuno ha potuto dire. Ecco, grazie. E poi il dischetto, Dischetto. La dischetta. Sì, email. Va bene. Cioè può essere un modo di agevolare la pubblicazione, mandare il dischetto quando c'è un testo scritto. È chiaro che invece quello che viene detto oralmente viene trascritto. E allora Ove Petersen. Sempre breve, no? Legge una parte del testo. Grazie. Quindi la vita inumana, questo è il titolo. La vita inumana. Chiaro che il testo sarà pubblicato per intero, ma adesso ci legge solo qualche brano. Prego. Cita questa lettura che è la mia. Prego.
Le texte s'appelle donc La vie inhumaine et dans la première partie, je pose à partir du 5 termes du titre du congrès une question sur les relations entre la vie et les nombres. Mais je voudrais reprendre le fil au page 5 pour les traducteurs. Oui, il y a une sorte de...
I traduttori, pagina 5 del testo, prego.
Avec quelques remarques plutôt rhapsodiques à partir de l'investigation du question.
Sì.
En posant la question des relations entre l'infini, les nombres, l'arithmétique et la vie, j'ai esquissé dans la première partie les trois réponses possibles. La vie finie, la vie infinie ou la vie de l'infini potentiel et la vie transfinie ou la vie de l'infini actuel. La vie finie est due à une distillation qui la sépare de l'infini, une distillation sous forme d'une division entre la vie, la finitude et l'infini, la mort qui détruit la vie. La vie finie est donc un produit de distillation, à savoir le produit qui reste dans l'alambic. Mais la distillation produit aussi autre chose, des bulles qui planent dans les airs. Dans la vie infinie du romantisme, on dirige ses regards sur ces bulles fragiles et toujours sur le point de se briser. D'où l'obsession dans le romantisme de la mort. Et non sur le produit dans l'alambic, qu'il n'est quand même pas aussi facile d'ignorer que les bulles du savon. Mais la vie transfinie n'est pas un produit de distillation, parce que dans la vie transfinie, il ne s'agit pas du tout d'une distillation, mais au contraire d'une dénaturation, c'est-à-dire d'une invention de la vie artificielle. Mais aussi bien dans le cas de distillation que dans le cas de la dénaturation, il s'agit de la matière de la vie, à savoir le spirituel. Je n'ai parlé de rien d'autre qu'une immensité spirituelle, pour reprendre le mot de Charles Baudelaire, et je cite, « Rien qu'une immensité spirituelle. La biographie d'un homme dans les aventures les plus dramatiques se joue silencieusement sous la coupole de son cerveau et d'un travail littéraire d'un ordre tout différent. » Citation finie. La biographie dont parle Baudelaire n'est pas un récit ou une écriture sur la vie dans la société ou la vie intérieure, parce qu'il s'agit ici d'une vie qui n'est ni extérieure ni antérieure à l'écriture elle-même. Nous retrouvons l'élaboration d'une telle conception baudelairienne de la biographie chez l'auteur français Roger Laporte, qui, pendant une vingtaine d'années et de livre en livre, nous fournit des éléments pour une autobiographie. En 1986, Roger Laporte a rassemblé ces 8 livres en un seul volume qui s'appelle justement Une vie. Et dans un carnet qui ne fut publié qu'après sa mort en 2001, et c'est la raison de son titre, le carnet posthume, Roger Laporte cite Baudelaire pour reprendre son projet et pour en continuer l'élaboration. Et je cite encore une fois, Baudelaire a créé le sens moderne de la biographie sans accomplir lui-même le travail littéraire qu'elle appelle. Avec la biographie dont nous avons donc affaire à des aventures dont parle Baudelaire, des aventures dramatiques, c'est-à-dire des aventures du corps sur la scène, des aventures qui se jouent silencieusement, c'est-à-dire des aventures où la parole ou la voix n'est pas vocale, une scène et une parole qui se trouvent sous la coupole de son cerveau, le cerveau qui n'est pas un organe, mais un dispositif intellectuel, comme nous en avons débattu au Congrès il y a justement un an. La biographie est une fiction, un travail littéraire d'un ordre tout différent, comme le dit Baudelaire, parce qu'il s'agit d'une littérature qui n'est pas une distillation de la vie naturelle, mais une écriture de l'abstraction, une dénaturation qui donne accès à une vie qui n'est, comme le dit Roger Laporte, ni extérieure ni antérieure à l'écriture elle-même. Il n'y a pas un tel travail littéraire d'un ordre tout différent sans le spirituel, c'est-à-dire sans l'inhumain. La littérature se crée avec et à partir de cet inhumain en nous. Elle se crée silencieusement, dit Baudelaire, silencieusement comme la pulsion de mort. La mort n'est pas un fin, mais une pulsion, l'inhumain, impulsion à s'arracher à la tentation naturaliste et finitiste d'un monde en noir et blanc pour entreprendre une aventure autrement inaccessible. Une aventure intellectuelle que Antonin Artaud décrit ainsi, et je cite, « Je suis tantôt dans la vie, tantôt au-dessus de la vie. Je suis comme un personnage de théâtre qui aurait le pouvoir de se considérer lui-même et d'être tantôt une abstraction pure et simple création de l'esprit et tantôt inventeur et animateur de cette création de l'esprit. Il aurait alors, tout en vivant, la faculté de nier son existence et de se dérober à la pression de son antagonisme. La médecine, enfin, pour renouer au titre du Congrès, consiste dans la possibilité de se dérober à la pression du corps douloureux grâce à la dénaturation dont je parlais, une dénaturation qu'il n'est pas possible d'obtenir par aucune substance, mais seulement par l'écriture comme un travail d'un ordre tout différent, c'est-à-dire spirituel et inhumain. Un travail de lecture. Une lecture-écriture qui restitue le corps vivant. Peut-être Roger Laporte a raison quand il dit que Baudelaire n'a pas lui-même accompli ce travail, peut-être pas, il en va de même pour Artaud. Mais pour en décider, il faut justement des lectures minutieuses où il s'agit peut-être plutôt de restituer le texte que dans la partie du jugement. Je voudrais donc finir en vous rappelant que les aventures dont parle Baudelaire, les aventures les plus dramatiques se jouent silencieusement sous la coupole de son cerveau, comme le dit Baudelaire. Nous en connaissons quand même un travail littéraire d'un ordre tout différent, une biographie même qui s'appelle la psychanalyse, cette aventure qui est la mienne. L'aventure dont il est question dans ce livre, une aventure dont j'ignore si elle est l'aventure d'Armando Verdiglione ou l'aventure de la psychanalyse, Elle se passe dans un monde où la couleur provoque chacun à prendre le risque de dire de la vie, c'est l'aventure qui est la mienne. L'aventure de la vie inhumaine. Merci.
Bene, allora ringraziamo Ove Petersen per la sua esposizione e quindi adesso invitiamo sempre alla brevità, quindi Claus Köhnlein. Però la prossima volta ci organizziamo per, se voi volete in tedesco, esporre il tedesco, che è una lingua che noi amiamo molto, quindi perché possiamo fare, vedremo di avere anche molti relatori in lingua tedesca, così, così faremo la traduzione anche in tedesco. Allora ci sono diapositive? Diapositive? Ah. No, però perché, scusi, siccome abbiamo detto lucide, non diapositive, sono lucide. Va bene, mi raccomando, breve, Breve? Breve. Ok.
Thank you for the invitation to la Villa Armando Verdiglione. Medicine and humanity. I would like to cite Ivan Illich, who once said about 25 years ago that modern medicine has become a major health threat. How comes this? I think there is too much medicine, and the British Medical Journal just titled, "Is there too much medicine?" And the answer was certainly yes. So what is the medical establishment doing if there are not enough patients? And we had one title at the Spiegel, the German newspaper, last month, who titled about invented diseases. And I would like to show how you can invent whole epidemics. As you see here, as we told already about HIV and AIDS, and we know a new epidemic, which is hepatitis C, which is said to be even worse. And another epidemic was the BSE, which didn't take place. And now, 1 year ago, we had the Szasz problem, which almost made China's economy collapse. And indeed, there was no epidemic at all. I just wanted to show how this can happen. There are some scientific problems in these epidemics. There's always a heavier reliance on the so-called PCR. You know, we had Carrie Mullis here a few years ago. He was talking about PCR, and he was very sad to see that the microbiologist has taken this procedure to look for microbes, because this procedure is much too sensible to show whether a microbe which you can isolate is the cause of the disease. There are always insecurities about the causative role of microbes. There are always inconclusive animal models, and there are no convincing functional tests. I would just show you the animal models for AIDS. You all know that there were chimpanzees infected with HIV and they reacted positive, they built antibodies, but they are still alive. So this animal model didn't function. Another animal model was for the hepatitis C. They took blood from a patient with non-A, non-B hepatitis and injected this blood into chimpanzees. And after a while, these chimpanzees, after 15 weeks, these chimpanzees got slight elevated levels of aminotransferases, liver enzymes. But that doesn't say it's a hepatitis. And the liver enzymes went down and the animals were completely healthy. So there's no conclusive animal. And the control, there was no control, no proper control. There should have been a control which showed that 5 other chimps injected with blood from a human patient should always show this elevated levels. And they just had one control, chimpanzees kept in a separate room. So that's not a proper control. And concerning BSE, you all know that the famous experiment Gadusek did in the 70s couldn't show that there is a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy because when he fed the chimps with this assumed infectious brain, it didn't bother them. And it didn't bother them when he injected it in the blood. It only bothered them when he